My name is Dr. Konstantin Korotkov. I am doctor, professor, and for more than 40 years I work in science. I was working in different universities in Russia, in Soviet Union, Russia, in St. Petersburg, in different scientific organizations. My background is quantum physics. Then I moved to biophysics, to medicine, and now I try to combine ideas of quantum physics, physics with medical applications and biological applications. And last 20 years, I am involved in study of energy field of human, of plants, of water, of environment. And this is the main line of my research in the last 20 years. We have no doubts that light and colors influence our life and our state. And from my physical point of view, understand light, it is frequency from one hand, those are photons from other hand. And that's why when we look to the biophysical mechanisms of influence of light, we need to understand both sides, frequency and photons and particles. So light particles has energy, and energy depends on frequency, so it's interrelated. That is why we have two ways how light influence our system and our health. One way through the skin, another way through the eyes. And those are different pathways. So for the skin, it is tremendously important now. And in medicine, in cosmetology, in dentistry, surgery, they use a lot of light instruments. If you go to big medical exhibition, you have big department of different light instruments. Would it be lasers? Would it be LED devices? And in most areas of medicine, they use it tremendously. Because when we apply light to our skin, we have different levels of influence. So our skin accepts light, but this acceptance depends on frequency or on color of light, because we always correlate light with colors, but colors, those are frequency. Light can penetrate in our skin, but the depth of penetration depends on frequency. Ultraviolet and violet light, blue lights, they have the lowest penetration, but they have the highest energy. That is why ultraviolet, it's very good and we need it. We need it to, first of all, to produce vitamin D, but it may be dangerous. So as any factor, it has two sides, positive side and negative side. Positive side, that it gives us vitamin D, that's very good for health. Negative side, that if it is too much, then it has damaging effect to skin. So we use a lot of artificial lights. And of course, now we have more and more new type of bulbs, new type of lights. And of course, we need to be very careful because it's absolutely new for our civilization. And not all artificial lights are good for health. That's absolutely clear now. So we need to be careful, and it's only beginning of this understanding. So that's, if we come back to spectrum, then we have visible spectrum, and visible spectrum has much deeper penetration to our skin, and we have so named the narrow window of penetration, because in high frequency there are, in blue light, green light, there are a lot of communication with our tissues. Then we have this narrow gap, because later on, for red, for infrared, we start absorption by water. And that's why red and infrared lights, they are absorbed by water in our system. So the highest level of penetration is red light for our skin. But this near red, near infrared, it has very useful as well, because it has direct influence to our blood. What does it mean, water? We are 70% of water. All our blood, our lymph, this is water. And when light influence our vessels, our capillaries, it has very positive effect because it allows for blood to move much faster. And when it moves faster, it means it brings oxygen to us. That is why red light, near infrared light, and infrared light, this is very, very good for health. So same again, coming back to eyes, this part of spectrum is very interesting because every color, every part of spectrum has its own psychological effect. So we were talking about psychological evaluation, but at the same time we need to understand that every part of spectrum has its own effect on our state and our psychology. Any treatment, any medicine, and in many holistic centers you can find this type of therapy because it's very, very efficient and really very good. And depending on part of spectrum, of course, we can have different response, different influence, but this response should be individual. With light influence and light therapy, of course, very important factor is intensity. We understand if you have scattered light, sunlight, it's one topic. If you go on the sun in a hot day, then of course it's different topic. So same to therapy. And in therapy, we have different stages. You know that laser lights, when they first was developed and moved to medicine, then first of all, they start using this in surgery. Because for surgery, they use very intensive light, and it's possible to cut tissues without blood. It's possible to use it for block some moments in tissues. So it was very useful. But of course, if we want to have therapeutic effects, we don't need this high intensity. We need very low intensity. So that's why different laser devices in medicine, low level intensity, they are very, very useful, and a lot of people, they use it. We have different instruments of this kind. Plus one more topic. In principle, we can modulate laser light with some frequency. And again, there are different instruments on the market that use this principle, and they are very, very efficient. With LED light, we eliminate much bigger area. Spectrum is more wide, so it's not one frequency only, one wavelength, but more broad. So it different physiological effect. Tonight, yes, very good example. For example, that's intravenous light therapy. This approach was developed in Russia in 1970s when they put light valve in the vein, and then they sent laser light. So this is very, very efficient treatment with laser light. So of course here it's only laser can operate, and it has many advantage. Of course, it's very well developed. They have equipment produced in Russia, in South Korea, and we have tremendous effects of this. But this is medical treatment that should be done only in medical environment under strict control. And as any medical treatment, it shouldn't be once. It should be just a series of treatment, and doctor should follow up condition of people and response to this. But this is very clear example then when only laser give us specific effect. And now we have a lot of very well done papers and research lines on the influence of light on mitochondria. Because we know that mitochondria is our main source station. And activity of mitochondria, it's a quantum process. It is based on the interaction between photons, protons, and electrons. And it's all organized on the membrane of mitochondria. And it was demonstrated that light can strongly influence process of mitochondrial activity, mostly by influencing different enzymes on membrane. So with light, mitochondria has much more capacity to get oxygen and to produce adenosine triphosphate. That is the main source of our energy. So that's why it was clear by physical experiment in vivo, then in vitro, so it's demonstrated that it really has very positive effect for blood movement and oxygen consumption. And we understand that now a lot of people, they suffer from the lack of oxygen, mostly for the brain and other organs as well. And capillary activity, this is the essence of health. So if we increase blood supply, if we increase movement of oxygen on capillaries, if we have mitochondria that has tremendous big potential on energy, then of course it has tremendous effect on our health state and very important on our brain activity. First of all, when we have light, it's not just we absorb photons and it gives us energy. No, it's process is much more complicated. And we know this, that for example, for photosynthesis, we need light, we need air, we need water. And then it's very complex biochemical reaction that allows to transform this to mass and to have beautiful vegetation, beautiful trees, grass, flowers around ourselves. So in principle, same process is possible for human body. Because in normal life, for majority of people, we eat something and then we decompose this food in our stomach due to our microbiome, and then we use these electrons, excited electrons, to produce energy for mitochondria. And of course, mitochondria is a part of every cell. So we have this in DNA, we have this in brain, we have this in every part of our body. That's why we have tremendous reserve of energy in our body. It's not just DNA, it's all over the body. DNA, it's just a little part of all the play. Of course, it has some its own role, but it's not that define our our health. So that is why process of transformation of light into energy typically is indirect process for majority of people. If you lay down on the beach, you will be tired, and you wouldn't get more energy. And after this, you come home and you feel tired because it's absolutely another mechanisms. But without light, we don't have production of vitamin D. We don't have our circadian rhythm, and of course, finally, people who don't have light, they deteriorate. It's absolutely clear, demonstrated by a lot of prisoners and people who was trying to stay in darkness. Jerry Pollack, he is a great scientist. He is a professor of biophysics, and he has developed absolute new understanding of water. With many detailed experiments for many years, he demonstrated that in water, nearby surface, we have very special areas. It was known that these areas are special, but he demonstrated that those areas operate like electrical pump. So it's separate charges, and due to this charge separation, we have like electrical current. So, and this allows water to move along narrow tubes. What does mean narrow tubes? It's our capillaries. Because it was always big question how water can come up to the tree, big tree, or how water can move on our capillaries. Because from simple physics, it's absolutely unexplainable. It's absolutely unclear. No capillary forces can move water to 30 meters up. So by Pollack concept, it was proven, it was demonstrated, and he demonstrated this not just by theory, but by many precise experiments. And he put a notion of a new fourth stage of water nearby surface, and he demonstrated that this level of this water increases with light, red and infrared light, because this is my main absorption band of water. So if we project infrared light or near-infrared light to our body, then we have increase of capillary activity. That's the essence of life. The highest effect for our skin, for our health, has two boundary parts of sun spectrum. I mean ultraviolet and infrared. So ultraviolet, it is the essence to produce vitamin D and to increase activity of proteins, increase activity of albumins, and infrared, it is increase of activity of capillaries. So those are two boundaries. In between, we have all colors, and every color has its own influence. Mostly, what's interesting, different colors has influence on our psychological state through our eyes. That's why we have many type of therapy when people are looking to different colors. And with this therapy, practitioners, doctors, they try to influence psychological state of people. And of course, this is a part of our environment. Because in environment, we have colors around ourselves. And this is absolutely clear influence to our mood, to our health state. And if there are well-designed environment, then of course people can use different colors, but it's clear effect on psychological state. So I would say that in practice, we have two bands that has the strongest effect, but we have all intermediate frequencies that really may have very good effect on people. And depending on methodology, depending on type of treatment, we can use absolutely all spectrum of light. We're developing a line that has its origin in Kirlian effect, Kirlian photograph. And we develop our instruments based on modern electronics, optics, and most important, computer processing. Now we have powerful system of nonlinear mathematics that we apply to processing information based on neural networks, nonlinear mathematics, image processing, and we extract information. Because one way you have some measurement, other way what information you can extract from this measurement. And we are lucky that we live in computer time, and that's why we can use this with powerful computers. We have all our programs on the internet, on server, because they are very big, very powerful. And then people can use our instruments. They can take measurements, and then they have results that come to them through internet very fast. And then, of course, they need some training to understand what that's doing. So we give trainings, we teach people worldwide, and now more than 3,000 people, they use those instruments worldwide. And we have only positive responses from them. This method, what's important, it's not just allow us to see what's going on with people, but what's important, it allows us to see predominance of person, potential health problems, and the areas of attention. Because we understand that there are, most of people have their problems, health problems. It's absolutely clear. And if you know this situation, then you can select the type of life, the type of food, the type of training, exercising, and make your life strong, powerful, and healthy. Our latest instrument is named as BioWell, and this instrument is produced now in big quantities, and it's all based on quantum effects. So we stimulate tissues, for example, of human fingers, with short electrical impulses, and we see photons. So we are measuring photons emitted by the body in electrical stimulation. It may be our fingers, it may be plants, it may be trees, it may be water, blood, whatever. So we can study quantum behavior of any subjects in the world. That's why it gives a lot of information. Plus, then it's based on ideas, and we use ideas of traditional Chinese medicine, of Ayurvedic medicine, of classical Western medicine, and we combine this together. So we, in our processing, we make a bridge between Western science and Oriental wisdom. And this allows us to extract information. And then, of course, empirical approach. So it's based on thousands and thousands of clinical studies, thousands of patients. We have several hundred papers published in medical line, in psychology, in peer-reviewed journals. This allows us to make conclusions. So all our conclusions from our programs based on a lot of experience, clinical experience. And this book is not just about our method only, but this book about health. So here I discuss approach to health and understanding how we can make analysis of health and what we can do to improve our health.